Have you ever wondered why women say they want a nice guy, but always seem to fall for the one who breaks the rules, commands the room on the edge? Today, we're going to break the illusion and reveal why women are secretly drawn to the man who dares to be dangerous, and how most men kill that fire before it ever burns. Beneath the modern surface of polite society, beneath the smartphones, the dating apps, and the social norms of equality and civility, there lies a primal code that still governs human desire. And nowhere is that code more apparent than in what women are subconsciously drawn to in men. It's not the resume. It's not the income. It's not even the so-called emotional availability that has been so praised in recent times. It's something deeper, something far older, something evolutionary. Women are hardwired, not by culture but by biology, to feel a magnetic pull toward the man who is dangerous. Not recklessly violent, powerfully unpredictable. A man who can do harm, yet chooses not to. That tension between potential chaos and self-control creates an irresistible energy, a gravitational force that tames the civilized surface of her mind and speaks directly to her instincts. For thousands of years, survival was brutal. Women didn't just want partners. They needed protectors. Someone who could kill for them, fight for them, lead them, defend them. In that raw environment, nice was not a virtue. It was a weakness. The dangerous man, the man who others feared, the one who could walk into a room and change its temperature with his presence. He wasn't a luxury. He was a necessity. His danger wasn't destructive. It was a shield. The power to inflict violence, when needed, was the very thing that made women feel safe. And while the world has changed, biology has not. What we call dangerous today is simply the modern version of ancient strength. The man who doesn't flinch under pressure. The man who says what others are too afraid to say. The man whose confidence borders on arrogance, whose instincts are sharp enough to walk that fine line. This is not the mindless brute. This is the composed predator. The one who calculates, who chooses his battles, who isn't led by impulse, but still carries the capacity for danger within him like a loaded weapon, always present but never misused. Women don't desire chaos. They're drawn to the potential for chaos that is mastered, controlled. The allure isn't just the danger itself. It's the discipline that restrains it. It's the depth of a man who has faced the darkness within himself and didn't run from it. Because that darkness, when embraced and refined, becomes magnetism. It becomes intensity. It becomes sexual gravity. And women, whether they admit it or not, feel it. This is why the so-called bad boy archetype never dies. It's why he dominates her thoughts long after he's gone, even if her rational mind tries to dismiss him. It's why the man who breaks the rules, who carries an edge, who doesn't bend to approval, always stands out from the masses of agreeable, safe, vanilla men. The bad boy signals danger. But more importantly, he signals choice. He chooses to live by his own code. He chooses his path, his words, his battles. And that self-authority is the very scent of power. A dangerous man doesn't seek permission. He doesn't explain himself endlessly. He doesn't fear rejection because he's already accepted that not everyone can handle his truth. That emotional detachment, that cold fire in the eyes, that sense of, I don't need you, but I've chosen to be here. Those are the qualities that awaken her most primitive desire, not because she wants to be dominated, but because she wants to feel the presence of a man who could dominate but chooses not to. It's not submission, it's surrender to strength. In contrast, the modern nice guy tries to win favor by suppressing every edge, every impulse, every spark of danger within him. He thinks love is earned through compliance, through softness, through being the emotional sponge. But what he doesn't understand is this: a woman may appreciate the safety of a nice man, but she yearns for the fire of a dangerous one. She may tell herself she wants calm, but her body reacts to tension, mystery, dominance, and raw masculine energy. This isn't about being toxic or cruel. It's about being real. Authentic masculinity isn't soft. It isn't passive. It's not a performance of sensitivity. True masculine energy holds the shadow as well as the light. And the more a man integrates both, the more powerful he becomes. A man who has never confronted his own dark side, his aggression, his lust, his dominance, is a man she can't fully trust because he hasn't earned his power. He hasn't earned himself. There's a reason warriors, rebels, outlaws, and rule breakers have always captured the fascination of women throughout history. It's not because they're evil. It's because they represent something raw and untamed, something that polite men have lost. And in the dance of attraction, it's that wild edge that makes her heart race, not the man who does everything right, but lacks the storm inside. Masculinity has been twisted. Once seen as a force of nature, fiery, commanding, protective, it has been domesticated, softened, and redefined through the lens of modern values. In today's world, men are praised for being safe, agreeable, compliant. They are told to talk less about power and more about vulnerability, to reject aggression and embrace sensitivity, to apologize for their impulses instead of mastering them. And yet, behind closed doors, in secret thoughts and silent desires, the truth reveals itself. Women are not drawn to the sanitized version of masculinity. They're drawn to the one that society has tried to silence. The man who carries both light and shadow. The one who walks the line between discipline and destruction. This is the dual nature of masculinity. The side that comforts and the side that can conquer. A woman may say she wants a kind, gentle man. A man who listens, who nurtures, who understands. But that's only half the story. Deep within her unconscious, there is another craving, a craving for the man who is unshakable, the man who can protect, command, and if necessary, destroy. Not because she wants violence, because she wants security. Not because she seeks chaos, but because she seeks control of chaos. Masculinity is not meant to be one-dimensional. It was never supposed to be either, or it is, by its very essence, both nurturing and dangerous. And the men who deny one side in favor of the other are left incomplete, confused, and invisible. Society teaches men to choose. Be the nice guy, the one who does what he's told, who stays quiet, who supports without leading. Or be the rebel, the one who defies, dominates, and destroys. Real masculinity doesn't choose. It balances. It harmonizes the storm and the shelter. A truly powerful man is not one who rejects his darker instincts, but one who controls them without killing them. He knows how to be gentle, not because he's weak, because he's strong enough to choose gentleness when he could choose dominance. That conscious choice is what separates the tame from the powerful. Most men today fall into the trap of trying to be safe. They believe that safety equals love, that predictability equals loyalty. But what they don't realize is that by cutting off their edge, their fire, their primal strength, they also cut off the part of them that ignites desire. Women don't long for the man who fades into the background. They may appreciate him, they may even marry him, but they will never burn for him. Burning requires fire, and fire doesn't come from politeness. It comes from presence, from danger that has been sharpened, refined, and caged, not destroyed. The dual nature of masculinity is often misunderstood because it threatens comfort. It makes people uneasy. The idea that a man can be both loving and dangerous challenges the binary narrative that dominates popular culture. Look at every figure that has ever drawn the world's attention. The magnetic leader, the artist who breaks rules, the fighter with discipline, quiet man who says little but moves the world when he does. They are not safe men. They are not men who ask for approval. They are men who have integrated their chaos, who have found a way to channel their darker urges into something purposeful. That integration is where true masculinity lives. Women are intuitive. They can sense the difference between a man who is soft because he has no edge and a man who is soft because he has mastered his edge. The former is forgettable. The latter is unforgettable. There's a tension in that man, a weight, a gravitational pull. He doesn't need to shout. He doesn't need to perform. His presence speaks a language her body understands before her mind can translate. It says, I have the capacity to destroy, but I choose to protect. And that choice awakens something ancient in her, something no amount of social programming can erase. This is why women are often torn between the man who treats them well and the man who makes them feel alive. It's not that they want to suffer, it's that they want to feel. They want to be near someone who stirs them awake, who challenges them, who sees through them. The man who is too agreeable becomes invisible over time because he never creates contrast. He never disrupts her comfort enough to make her evolve. The dangerous man, however, triggers something deeper. He pulls her out of routine, out of predictability, and into the unknown. and the unknown, when wrapped in the skin of a self-controlled man, becomes irresistible. Men are not meant to be harmless. They are meant to be strong enough to carry the weight of life, to protect what matters, and to destroy what threatens. But only when necessary. The idea is not to be violent, but to be capable of violence and choose restraint. The man who can walk into darkness and return with wisdom, who can assert without abusing, who can hold his power without flaunting it. This is the man who embodies the dual nature of masculinity, and women know it the moment they feel it. From the moment a boy begins to express himself, society begins to mold him. He is told what is acceptable and what is not. He is taught to behave, to be polite, to keep his hands to himself, to lower his voice, to avoid confrontation. He learns slowly but surely that certain aspects of himself, his aggression, his desire, his competitiveness, his anger, are dangerous and must be buried. He is trained to repress his wildness, to package himself into something more manageable, more socially acceptable. What is never explained to him is that in killing those traits, he is also killing his power. He is mutilating his masculinity, and without knowing it, he is burying his most magnetic force, the shadow. The shadow is not evil. It is not synonymous with violence or harm or destruction. The shadow is the collection of traits that society has deemed too dangerous, too intense, or too raw to be publicly embraced. But those traits, when understood and mastered, form the core of a man's presence. The shadow contains his instincts, his courage, his sexuality, his assertiveness, his hunger for dominance, and his need for independence. When these aspects are repressed rather than integrated, a man becomes hollow. He may appear calm on the surface, but beneath it, he is disconnected. He becomes passive, uncertain, and deluded. He loses the fire that once burned in his eyes. Most men today are walking shells of themselves, cut off from their own depth. They've been told that their aggression is toxic, that their lust is shameful, that their dominance is dangerous. And so they become men who apologize for existing. They try to earn approval by shrinking. They believe that becoming more palatable will make them more lovable. But the truth is that repression does not create virtue. It creates weakness. And weakness, no matter how polite, is never attractive, especially not to a woman who is subconsciously seeking a man with depth, with danger, with the capacity to stand firm when the world demands he fold. The man who has never met his shadow is a man who can be manipulated. He doesn't know where his boundaries lie because he has never tested them. He doesn't know how far he can go because he has been told not to go at all. He is tame, and women can sense it. They may respect his kindness, they may appreciate his manners, but they will not crave him. Craving is not born from predictability. It is born from power. And power lives in the parts of yourself you've been told to hide. Women don't want a man who is out of control. They don't want a man who is never in control because he's never touched the fire. A man who represses his shadow is a man who lacks tension. He is smooth but flat. He is easy but forgettable. The tension between darkness and discipline is what creates depth. The moment a man begins to integrate his shadow, by acknowledging his aggression, owning his desires, and standing unapologetically in his masculine instincts, he begins to change. His voice deepens. His posture straightens. His eyes settle into something unshakable. This transformation is not external. It is internal, but it radiates out in everything he does. When a man represses the shadow, it doesn't disappear. It festers. It leaks out in self-sabotage, in passive-aggressive behavior, in addiction, in shameful fantasies that control him rather than empower him. The shadow is not meant to be caged. It is meant to be trained. Like a wild beast, it must be faced, understood, and respected. Once this is done, the man becomes whole. He stops seeking validation. He stops explaining himself. He no longer fears rejection because he no longer rejects himself. This integration is not loud. It doesn't demand attention. It simply is. A man who knows his shadow carries an aura. He can look someone in the eyes and see through them because he has already seen into himself. He can lead, not because he craves power, but because power has already been made a part of him. He can be dangerous, but he chooses not to be unless it is necessary. And it is this control over the shadow, not its denial, that makes him powerful. Women can sense the difference. They may not consciously know why they are drawn to a certain man, but their instincts tell them. The man who has faced himself radiates something ancient. He doesn't need to dominate to prove his strength. His presence already signals that he can. He doesn't fear conflict. He doesn't fear solitude. He doesn't fear the chaos within because he has made peace with it. Repression weakens a man. Integration hardens him into something real, something raw, something she can feel even before a word is spoken. Desire isn't born in comfort. It doesn't grow in environments where everything is predictable, controllable, and safe. Real desire, the kind that pulses in the subconscious, that whispers in the dark, that lingers long after words are spoken, is ignited by contrast, tension, and uncertainty. This is why women are drawn not to the man who fits the mold, to the one who shatters it. Not to the man who obeys every rule, but to the man who knows the rules and walks just outside their boundaries. Danger awakens desire because it signals life. It signals movement. It signals energy that can't be boxed, only felt. The modern world has flattened attraction. It has reduced dating to checklists and politeness. Men are told to suppress anything that could be seen as intimidating. Don't be too forward. Don't be too assertive. Don't express desire too early. Don't have strong opinions. The result is a generation of men who present themselves like glass, transparent, delicate, easy to read. But the truth is, desire doesn't thrive in clarity. It thrives in mystery, in unpredictability, in the slow reveal of a man who can't be fully tamed or understood. That's the essence of danger. Not violence, not cruelty, but unpredictability grounded in strength. It keeps a woman on the edge of herself, uncertain of what will happen next, and that edge becomes the spark. Danger in a man doesn't mean he's reckless. It doesn't mean he disrespects boundaries. It means he possesses the ability to disrupt the ordinary, to disrupt her mind, her routine, her sense of who she thought she was. He introduces a current of raw energy into her life, an energy that can't be explained by logic or reason. It's not what he says, it's what he makes her feel. The pulse of something more, something ancient, something animal. It doesn't matter how evolved or educated she is, her body will respond to the man who triggers this feeling. She'll lean in before she understands why. Women may say they want safety, but the kind of safety they crave isn't the absence of threat. It's the presence of controlled power, a man who could be a threat to others, but is not a threat to her. This paradox is where attraction lies. When a woman feels that a man is capable of dominance, but chooses to offer her protection, it awakens a deep sense of trust, arousal, and submission. Not in weakness, but in surrender to someone stronger than the world around her. That strength doesn't come from being nice. It comes from being dangerous in a way that's mastered and restrained. Most men have been taught to cut themselves off from that edge. They believe the way to a woman's heart is through comfort, consistency, and compliance. But desire doesn't come from being easy to digest. It comes from being impossible to ignore. The man who radiates danger doesn't seek her attention. He demands it without asking. He isn't afraid to make her feel something. He's not performing. He's simply present, and that presence carries weight. It disrupts her internal balance, forces her into the now, and challenges her to experience herself in a new way. And that emotional disruption is addictive. There's a reason why women fantasize about powerful, dominant men, not just physically, but psychologically. Men who speak with certainty, men who take what they want with respect, not hesitation, men who are unapologetically themselves. These men awaken parts of her that have been buried under layers of cultural expectations. They remind her of her own primal femininity, her own desire to surrender, not out of weakness, but in response to strength that makes surrender safe. In the presence of such a man, a woman begins to feel more feminine. She softens, not because she's being manipulated, but because she's responding. It's not about control, it's about polarity. Masculine danger amplifies feminine energy. It gives her something to push against, something to feel, something to crave. She becomes more alive, more emotional, more in touch with her instincts. And that transformation is what keeps her drawn in, not just to the man himself, but to who she becomes around him. Women don't fall in love with men who blend in. They fall in love with men who disturb their peace in a way that feels exhilarating. The man who can make her heart race with just a glance. The man who doesn't just enter her life, he enters her mind, her nervous system, her dreams. That level of impact doesn't come from being nice. It comes from being real, from being raw, from being the kind of man who, deep down, carries the capacity for danger but tempers it with wisdom. That's the paradox. The closer a man is to danger, the more alive a woman feels in his presence. And not because she wants to be afraid, but because she wants to feel the intensity of life. She wants to feel something that can't be faked, something that can't be replicated, something that speaks to her instincts more than her intellect. She wants to know that the man beside her is capable of protecting her not just from the world, but from the parts of herself that long to be overpowered and understood in ways words cannot touch. What society has long tried to suppress, women have always sensed. Beneath the surface of every joke about bad boys, behind the polite rejection of the too nice guy, and hidden within the eyes of women who crave something more, lies the unspoken truth. Women want a man who is whole, not a man who amputates his masculinity to fit into the soft frame of modern expectations, but a man who embodies both his light and his darkness, a man who can be tender because he is strong, who can protect because he has faced destruction, who can love because he has embraced his lust, and who can lead because he has walked through the fire of his own chaos and come out sharpened, not shattered. This isn't about becoming cruel. It's not about domination for its own sake. It's about awakening the power within you that the world tried to make you ashamed of. Women don't want monsters, but they don't want mannequins either. They want depth. They want danger, refined. They want a man who has walked the line between predator and protector, and chosen to protect, not because he's weak, because he knows exactly how powerful he is. This is the brutal truth most men will never hear, and even fewer will dare to embody. Those who do, those who reclaim their shadow, their edge, their unapologetic masculine presence, will find that the world does not just begin to respect them. It begins to feel them. And in that presence, women don't just see a man, they see the storm, the calm, and the truth they've always longed to surrender to.